In this video, I want to show you my workflow to reduce the face count, triangle counts, as well as vertex counts from the meshes we generated using Mesh AI. And all the process will be done in Unreal Engine. Before I getting into the video, I want to say a thank you for Peter France, who had the tutorial of how to do the AI assets cleanup in Blender, as well as Ryan Schmidt, who is the guy behind the modeling mode of Unreal Engine. He also posted a video about the assets cleanup, but it was from quite a few years ago. I figured out that I should make a video about it and make it extremely fast. Hope you are ready and dive right in. So the service we are using is called Meshi.ai. It's a paid service. Basically that each operation costs 10 credit, and to complete one output, to complete one 3D assets, I believe it costs around 20 to 30. Yeah, and you gotta know that most of the AI generated content, they follow the CC 4.0, which means that you are free to share, copy, redistribute, blah blah blah, and also you are welcome to remix, transform, and build up upon it commercially. The only thing you need to do is to basically give the proper credits. You wouldn't be able to have the ownership of any of the assets because they are AI generated, but in this video, we are not really too concerned about it. In the download file, after you finish the downloading, it would give you, it will give you a file and extract it. You would see that there is a PNG as well as an FBX. So these two will be the one you're capable of downloading from the website. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you rename it, because Unreal Engine doesn't like long as names, and you want to maybe say like satellite one test, right? Something like that. And I want to name this as satellite one test texture. Okay, so once you've gotten this step done, we want to take a look at why this mesh and what do we need to do to improve this mesh, right? So the first thing is very apparent that there is little floating islands. When I say islands, I mean there are isolated triangles, right? Isolated faces, isolated triangles, vertices, whatnot, and we want to get rid of these. And we also want to reduce the total face and as well as vertices, right? Because this is simply way too much. Even though that we are capable of using nanite in our engine, so the number of triangles doesn't really matter that much. But there are still quite a few technical challenges we need to conquer. So and the easiest way, right? Just make it safe, make it simple for future possible like pipeline improvement or whatnot. We'd like to keep the faces as well as the triangle counts as low as possible. All right, so let's open up. Let's start a new Unreal Engine 5.5 project. So the first thing you want to do after opening up the engine is you want to drag and drop the FBX file as well as the texture file into the folder. And the first thing I wanted to do is to make sure that my build scale as well as distant field resolution scale are set to 10, because I want my mesh to be bigger. If your mesh is, small and is exactly the size you want, you don't have to change any of the setting. And after it is imported, you will be able to see that there will be a material file as well as the static mesh file. After it's done, we can drag the static mesh out, and we can see that the static mesh is using this auto-generated material, but we don't really want that. I want to simply delete the material as well as the texture. And for the texture, we just imported. I believe it's this one. They are the same, but for the sake of the tutorial, let's make a material. Let's call it m.satellite. Did I call it 1? Let's just say test. All right, and open it up. We want to drag and drop. Want to drag the texture, plug the RGB into the base color, apply and save. And we want to use this material for our mesh. After this is done, we want to duplicate the static mesh. I want to call it cleaned up. Okay, so at current moment, they are exactly the same mesh, but let's use the same material. At this moment, they are exactly the same, but after we have finished everything, we'll be able to see how much a difference it is. So first thing that I want to do is I want to set the bond scale to be larger. One of the reason is you see that once our camera move out of certain angle, the mesh is curved, right? It is what is it called? Oscillation curling. So, it is unrendered. What we want to do first is to set the bond scale to a larger number, right? We want to set this to 10, and we also want to set this to 10. And save. And yeah, and now we can see that the mesh, the satellites are not unrendered, right? It will stay there even it is out of our viewport. Browser to assets, we can check out the mesh that we imported. It currently has 350K triangles, and my ideal is to set it to something close to 8,000, as well as give it a better UV, right? It is quite simple since I somewhat figured it out. And we can see that there are problems with this mesh, right? There are floating pieces, and there are floating pieces here, as well as these tentacle looking things that is protruding out of nowhere, right? We want these to be removed. And it is quite simple. All you need to do is to go to the modeling mode. We want to go to model, and actually want to go to mesh. We go to triangle selection, and set the selection mode to all connected. At first, it will be selecting to brush, right? It will be, do something like this, but you want to set it to all connected. And let's select all the panels that we want to connect. I want to keep this part as well. And after you have selected every part that you want to keep, we can go to invert, and you can see that all the other floating pieces that are not connected to the main mesh will be highlighted, right? And after that, we want to do delete. As you can see, all of them are gone. Make sure we accept. The second thing I want to do is to fill holes. I want to select all and make sure, just to set the fill type to minimal. You can check out what others do, but I believe minimal is, the best solution in my case. I'm not always correct. You can always tell me what I did wrong or what you think is a better approach in the comment section, and I am happy for suggestions as well as whatever I can do to become better. And thank you. And after that is done, we want to connect edges. For example, in this case, we will be able to use this function called weld edges, and we want to make sure that we can play around with the tolerance. What it does is all the edges will be connected within this distance. Basically, it will say edges are considered matching if both pair of endpoint vertices are closer than this distance. Okay. After that, we want to choose accept. Okay, so the next step we want to do is to simplify. We want to click the simplify function, and it will show you all the current vertices, which is really messy, but we want to reduce it to a certain count, right? We want to, oh yeah, for the option, the main tabs that you want to look for. First one is the simplify type. You can play around with all the different choices. In my case, I prefer OE standard over OEM because I want it to be still high quality not just the fastest, right? And the second thing is that you want to check out the target mode. So you are able to choose between percentage, triangle count, and other different count. In my case, I would love to have a specified number of triangle counts. I choose 8,000, and you can choose any other number or simply just use percentage. And it is calculating at a moment. We'll give it a while. Okay, and now we can see that the triangles are somewhat cleaned up, but it's still not the perfect. But again, we are not trying to make the mesh, make the topology as perfect as it can be. We are just simply trying to optimize it and in the fastest way. And then after you click accept, we can go check out how our current mesh is. As we can see that the nanite triangle reduced to 8,000. It is reduced to 8,000 compared to our original mesh from 850K. This is already a huge improvement. The second thing we want to do is we can choose to change the UV mapping. Because it is AI generated, the UV mapping is somewhat messed up. For better future usage or optimization, or however you want to call it, we can go to the auto UV. There isn't a lot you can play around with, but feel free to change around the variables as well as the values. And in my case, I will just do nothing and then go with the default. After that, we want to go to UV unwrap. What I chose for the island generation is existing UV, and the unwrapping type I chose the spectral conformal. You can go for the exp map if you are wrapping something that is like a sofa, right? Which is extremely square. It is just one piece, right? You can go for something that is cheaper and faster. In my case, I want it to be more accurate and more close to the original mesh, so I would go for the more expensive choice. And make sure that your texture resolution is set to something higher. In my case, I will set it to 1024. It's somewhat high, but you can, of course, time 2, 2048. But in my case, I would just use the 1024. And after that, I want to go to accept. As now you can see that our texture, our material doesn't align with our current UV at all. So what we want to do next is left click your current mesh, your cleaned up mesh, and then you want to click the original mesh. We want to go to the bake, we want to go to the bake texture, want to do the multi-texture, make sure that you select the multi-texture because at first it will be no flag selected. Multi-texture works for my case, and of course you are always welcome to play around with all the other options to see what are the outputs. And we can see that in the results section, there will be a new texture that will be generated. And make sure that we want to set our the output folder to current folder instead of the auto gen folder. You will need to find it somewhere else, and in current folder it will be generated basically right here, right? And we'll be using that picture, we'll be using that texture instead of my original texture again, right? This will be a way more optimal way to use, and the mesh from now on, the mesh will be way more optimized and more usable. After we click accept, we should be able to see a new texture coming up. I am not sure if it's this one or this one. I assume it should be this one because of all the random number after it. And for this case, let's just recreate another one. Let's do this. Let's do call it clean up. Clean up. We want to open it and get rid of the old texture and drag the new texture in. I want to plug it into the base color, apply and save. And we want to plug this into our new mesh as well. Boom. And it is done. Look at it. It is way cleaner. It is way more optimized, and it has way less triangle counts. It only has 8,000. compared to the 350, right? The 350K triangles we originally have. And we have improved its UV wrapping as well as the unpleasant parts of this mesh, right? Such as the islands, such as the unwanted things that is in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea what this is. And we have cleaned up all these floating meshes as well through using the invert and delete all triangles method, right? Hope you have learned a lot from this video, and make sure to check out my upcoming title that is on Steam called Once Upon a Baby VR. Yeah, and check out my other content as well. Leave a comment down below if you want to see other workflow that is that other people are trying to figure it out in 2025. I am more than happy to try out these new things.